I have been many times to visit shipyards in northern Finland, but I had never been sailing and at the helm of a boat, and this Swan 88 is perhaps the best baptism I could have had in these waters. This part of Finland is very special. This is where the kings of Sweden built their ships. There was the right wood, and there were the craftsmen who knew how to do it. The tradition has remained, and it has remained in large shipyards like Nautor Swan. Swan 88 is a recent launch, a new addition for the coming season. The hull, as always, was designed by German Frères, the interiors by Misa Poggi and the shipyard's technical department, and the general aesthetics of the deck Lucio Micheletti, who also focused on some details such as the rudder wheels. The sail plan is important. There is hydraulic furling. Further, the bowsprit supports the code zeros and gennaker. For mainsail adjustment, there are two solutions: the traditional winch or the magic trim, which is placed below deck in front of the mast, as in this case. The deck plan meets the boat's need for versatility. There is a large rigging-free area dedicated to guests with two large convertible tables. The winches for adjusting sails are in front of the wheels. Aft, a cleaver solution makes the swimming platform very livable.
Una carena spettacolare di German Frères, come tutte le sue barche, è un grande.
Like in all his boats, the hull is spectacular. By German Frères, he is a great master. It is a hull that is always very responsive. You don't feel the size. What you feel are the sensations we could have on a much smaller boat. Navigating closed reach is always a nice going. We tried the actual wind speed, which is 9 to 9.5 knots wind speed, and 9 and so knots boat speed, which is nice going. Once the sails are adjusted, if you don't get too distracted, the boat has nice course stability. Although it's a modern hull, the modern hulls usually have to be steered. Instead, this one grinds out miles. On this course, we might even make it to Sweden unimpeded, but we won't.
Su questa rotta potremmo anche arrivare in Svezia senza ostacoli, ma non lo faremo.
Vanni, we're on a big boat and yet it is so responsive. It's a bit of magic. How do you manage this? Well, it is something that amazes me every time too. However, it is really one of the strengths of our brand. We ask German that the boats always remain sailboats, whatever size they are, and to never lose the touch, as Ron Holland used to say. If you remember, you don't have to lose the touch. These boats, all also, due to how we handled the wheelhouses, the rudders and the naval architecture, are designed first and foremost to be sailboats. Vanni, it is certainly not the first boat you've launched with Nautor Shipyard, but what is it like to create a boat? Well, I am a grain of sand in the world of the team that makes Swan boats, where the designer Frères is the main actor, and then the whole yard with the great team. In fact, it's more than 10 years that I've been working for this company, and I've been following 11 or 12 different projects, including the ones we are following now, that no one knows about them yet. Antonio, you know me, I was born inside this world, and I would never have dreamed of being able to do a job like this, to work with someone like German Frères, who was our idol when we were kids. Every time it's a surprise because this boat, for example, has things from which there is so much to learn, the propulsion part, how the boat is managed. It's a constant stimulation. Basically, you remain as curious as a child every time you do a new project.
Curioso come un bambino ogni volta che fai un progetto nuovo.
Abbiamo finalmente aperto il gennaker, che è un top-down, un asimmetrico abbastanza grasso per poter andare alle andature.
We finally open the gennaker, which is a top-down asymmetrical sail that is good enough for the following points of sail. The boat, which has a nice wide hull, is stable and fast. These are the points of sail in which you can co-generate. meaning to generate power while sailing. It is one of the features of this Swan 88 that is a rather complex but very interesting hybrid system. It is a kind of perpetual motion. By sailing, it recharges. When there is no more wind, you can use the energy produced, often with a balance that breaks even. That is to say, if you're sailing across the Atlantic, you can think of having some diesel on board only for emergency, and not for the daily generation of what you need to navigate.
In Atlantico può pensare di avere un po' di gasolio a bordo solo per emergenza e non per la generazione quotidiana di quello che serve a navigare.
Vanni, the sailboat is finally proving what it is, the most sustainable thing to navigate with. This Swan 88 hybrid is an important step because it is a complex system that you have studied. Tell us about it. You and I and everyone who uses boats know very well that the sailboat is necessarily sustainable. It gets pushed and pulled by the wind, and so nothing more than that can be done. But still, then there are the engines with which you enter and exit ports, or otherwise move around and power everything inside. With this solution, we, as well as others, each in our own way, have managed to achieve something that I didn't think was possible. We have actually achieved some impressive numbers here.
Non pensavo fosse possibile io sono sempre stato scettico nei riguardi di questa cosa. In realtà qui abbiamo ottenuto dei numeri che fanno veramente impressione.
This boat reaches 11.5 knots, just like the other one that has a normal combustion engine. It has two generators that activate at the time when you need power or you need to recharge. Well, this boat has the same range as the other one. It has the same litres of diesel. At 10 knots, it has 1,000 miles of range, and at 7.5 knots, it has 2,000 miles of range, which is a lot. The noise pressure it has, depending on whether it runs one or two generators, is half, or even a quarter, of the corresponding heat engine boat. Of course, much of this is due also to the propeller, which is a particular variable pitch. Together with the electric motor, you can run at 5 or 10 revolutions. Then there's the hotelier part. When you're at anchor and you're still, with the batteries it has, it can work 12 to 24 hours without having to run the generators. Then there are recharging hours, which is also a big issue. If you run out of power, you have to recharge. Well, with the two generators in an hour and a half, we fully recharge the batteries. With the shore power, in 6 hours we charge them. If we put the two in combination, in less than an hour we have fully recharged the batteries.
Uno dei punti di forza degli Swan sono sicuramente gli interni, una lavorazione.
One of the strengths of the Swan is definitely the interior, unsparing workmanship, it really has to be said, which takes place entirely within the shipyard. The interiors are designed by Misa Poggi and the shipyard in-house technical department, which is perceived as a strong tradition and a link with the Swan past that remains a visible language and a modernity that is expressed in the layout, but also in some elements of the decor.
Anche una modernità che si esprime nel layout, ma anche in alcuni elementi del decoro.
The standard layout includes the owner's cabin in the bow. Here amidships are VIP and 2 doubles in the stern. Aft, 2 cabins for the crew. Alternatively, you can have a free area with settees here amidships or a solution with the owner's cabin aft. This of course upsets the whole layout a little bit because the crew area switches to the bow.
Questo ovviamente stravolge un po' tutto il layout perché la zona equipaggio passa a prua. E qui siamo sulla barca.
Here we are on boat number 2. The owner wanted a slightly different layout. Below here is a settee, a table and a study nook that can be suitable for kids or those who want to isolate themselves a little bit. Opposite is a dayhead. Much of the bow is devoted to the owner's cabin, a scheme that owners like. You can go all the way around the bed. The feet are towards the bow. This is a scheme that originated on this Swan 78 and then on the 80. We're on the 88. It's all a little bit wider.
È tutto un po' più largo. Uno dei vantaggi di avere la zona equipaggio a popa.
One of the advantages of having the crew area aft is that the guests towards the bow have more privacy while the crew is running the boat. The captain can stay here in his seat, get out quickly or give orders to those at the helm through the hatch. When the cabins are forward, have to cross the whole boat, and it's more uncomfortable.
Sulla prua in realtà bisogna attraversare tutta la barca ed è più scomodo. Questa può essere considerata una zona intermedia.
This can be considered an intermediate zone. At the stern, the crew. At the bow, the owner with his guests. Owners now like to cook for guests, so there is a direct passage. The beauty of the sailboat is that when it is sailing, it does not burn anything, but creates energy of its own. With this propeller, we are able to recharge and keep the boat's batteries fully balanced at a speed of 7.5 to 8 knots. At 8 knots, we are in balance. Imagine you can cross the Atlantic. This boat reaches even more than 8 knots. Even today, we sailed with little wind much faster than this, and you are perpetually with charged batteries, and you never have to touch a generator. I believe this is something that only sailboat manufacturers can achieve.